Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about publicly funded media in the United States, specifically how they're using our tax dollars to push biased left-wing propaganda. Yeah, that's right. We're talking about that again. And last time we were talking about how PBS was doing this. PBS has become pretty famous for being biased reporters pushing terrible left-wing propaganda in their news, pushing bad ideas, attacking Trump, and specifically, they have a certain reporter in the White House press corps named Yamicha who goes after Trump every single day, like almost every day. She's always yelling at him. She's saying stuff like, "Why don't we talk systemic racism? Why don't we talk about this?" She's always complaining about race and being this kind of antagonistic figure going against Trump. And it's kind of ironic since she's getting paid by our tax dollars. Like our tax dollars are funding PBS, which for the most part is actually not the worst channel. I mean, they have a lot of kids shows on there. They play a lot of reruns. It's a public broadcasting service that's supposed to be giving us kinds of educational stuff to watch for our kids. You put your kids in front of a TV, they watch some Arthur or some Magic School Bus, and then you got yourself a little break in the day. That's about it. But now PBS has been dabbling in news. They've always had a news show and try to keep up with that. And they've been gotten really bad with this biasness. And that's also what's happened to today's subject. Today we're talking about another public service, another thing funded by our tax dollars, and it's called NPR, National Public Radio. NPR, they've been around for a while too, and they've gotten increasingly left wing as well. They've actually been more known for it over the years. They've done more news. They're kind of focused more on the news aspect. They have a lot of shows and like documentary style stuff too, but they're also a radio program. News fits better on the radio. So they've done a lot of morning shows and talk shows and stuff like that. This American Life was actually something I used to watch on there. It's not that bad. I mean, that's hard to be biased because they're just kind of examining people's lives and going through different stories and situations, but the news arm of NPR is certainly one of the worst. They're terribly biased, and they're just as bad as PBS right now, which is just as offensive since our tax dollars are funding this. Sure, they get funding from a few other places. They take donations. They have some ads and stuff like that. But for the most part, they're getting funded by tax dollars, which to me is rather infuriating. And any Americans watching this video out there, you guys should be upset too, because we don't really have a say in this. Like, this is a tax program that's been going on for years. And I don't know if we're at a point where we definitely want to defund them, but I'm certainly thinking about it. I'm certainly thinking, hey, if we're going to fund a news service, can they at least try and be like apolitical? Can they just deliver the facts and talk about things in a straightforward way? But that's pretty much impossible in this day and age. Every single newspaper, for the most part, has picked a side. It's kind of just so polarized right now, you can't get around it. And that sucks. But in this situation, like I said, if you're paying for it with your tax dollars, I think it's rather offensive that they're allowed to push this left-wing propaganda. I don't think I would be happy with them pushing right-wing propaganda either. I don't think anything should be biased on this, but obviously they're going left. And obviously, they're getting themselves into trouble and getting called out. That's why I'm going to share a couple images with you. And we've got two examples of two tweets. And today we're talking about mass gatherings. Like, this has been a controversial issue that the left can't seem to agree on because, on one hand, they say, oh, this health scare is still going on. Everyone needs to stay home. They wanted to lock everyone down for months and months. Like, their plan was to lock us down for the rest of the year. And obviously that didn't happen because once the Minneapolis thing happened, everyone started protesting and having these big events. And apparently now those are okay. Those are encouraged even. But what's funny about that is they didn't really turn and just kind of switch things one way. They kind of still wanted to play both sides. So now they're still in this place where they're saying, hey, large gatherings are bad unless you're going to protest. They're like, if you're going to protest, that's okay. But any other large gatherings are a no-no. If you're doing something else, like if you just want to go to a barbecue party or celebrate the 4th of July, have a wedding, a funeral, like that's not allowed unless it's the funeral for someone they like, or in this case, unless it's a gathering that they approve of. So that's the big hypocrisy today. That's what we're getting into. And NPR has done some really, really bad biased things, just kind of discrediting them fully. As you can see by this first example, this is a tweet from Siraj. It has two NPR tweets, and he already labels it as mass gatherings for me, but not for thee. And that's basically like the "it's okay when liberals do it" phrase we have come to know and love here on this channel, because it's just so true. It happens all the time. They will tell you to do thing they will tell you to do something, and then they do the opposite. They don't listen to their own rules. They think they're above the law. And these kinds of double standards, it's just a classic thing for leftists. And here's the NPR example. So the first tweet says, President Trump will hit the campaign trail this month despite the deadly pandemic, which continues to impact the lives and livelihoods of households across the country. The rallies will be tremendous, a campaign manager said. Now, this is anti Trump, of course. This is saying, hey, he's doing these rallies despite the pandemic. Like, that's supposed to be wrong now or something. Like, we can't have mass gatherings. But then here's the next tweet. It says, dozens of public health and disease experts have signed an open letter in support of the nationwide anti-racism protests. White supremacy is a lethal public issue that predates and contributes to COVID, they wrote. Very, very interesting, very contradictory. And I'm going to check the dates on this, and it looks like they're only about 6 days apart. So this one happened first. This is the protest 6 days ago, saying they're anti-racism when really they're pretty racist and anti-white themselves. They're claiming white supremacy, which is just a way to attack white people. I mean, there's no white supremacy. There's no proof of it. There's no prominent white supremacists around here. And that's just how they go. They just say everyone else is racist when they're the real racist. And this is dozens of these public health and disease experts. We talked about this in a health experts video separately. Like, these guys are not fair. They sound legit when they try to place them as health experts, but really they're just as biased as anyone else can be. They are not going to go along with things they're going with their politics. It's political. This is all political. And that's what really makes you sick. And that's what sucks when you see health expert. That used to mean something back in the day, but now it doesn't, because these health experts say that this protesting is okay, but then other gatherings aren't okay. And it's just like, what's the difference? What is the difference between 100, 200 people standing around for a protest versus 200 people standing around for a president rally? It's still the same people. It's still the same premise. It's just people standing around, shoulder to shoulder, maybe sitting. There's no, like, why? I just don't get it. Like, I've talked about this before. They act like there's almost like a scientific reason. Like, I wish they would give us an example. Like, I'd be more generous if they actually said, oh, well, these protests are outside, so it's okay. The rallies are inside. But you can have a rally outside. They're like, well, the rallies are going to spread more because the conservatives tend to cough more. And obviously, whatever they come up with would be fake and a lie or exaggeration, but at least they would come up with something. I mean, this is just like, oh, they're just telling us two different things at the same time, and they expect us to go along with it. And we're just like, dude, are you really going to insult our intelligence this much? Like, you guys, we should be insulted right here. This is like insulting to adults. I mean, they're treating us like children. Back to the first tweet now. Let's see what this says again. Let's see. It's got Trump. It says, despite the deadly pandemic, now the pandemic is serious. Oh my God. It's so scary now. Whenever something happens that they don't like, they'll use the pandemic as a weapon, basically. And they're saying it's continuing to impact lives of households across the country. And they're just trying to make the president look like selfish, like he's all about himself. You know, he's all about his rally and promoting his name. And yeah, I don't agree with that at all. I mean, obviously the president needs to campaign. He's running for re-election. That's typical. And he has a lot of people that support him. He's not like trying to drag people out. Like, people want to go. I've already seen tweets of people saying they're going to fly across the country to this first rally. Like, people want this stuff to come back. They're demanding for it. And the president's giving the people what they want. He's giving America and Americans hope and going to save our country, going to make America great again. And we got these losers at NPR trying to go up against that in just the most hypocritical, double standard way possible. And like we were saying, this is a group that tries to be a legitimate news source when clearly they're not. Okay, next we have another example, another set of tweets. Actually, the first tweet is the same, but the second tweet is another very controversial, very hypocritical thing for NPR to say. So this is from Justin Hart. He says these are 48 hours apart. So first we have the campaign tweet talking about Trump holding rallies again. This was from the second, and then 2 days later, here's what NPR says. Thousands of voices at a protest in D.C. came together to sing the Bill Withers classic Lean On Me, led by local musician Kenny Sway. It sounded like unity and togetherness. He says it sounded like love and pureness of people. And then here's the protest. Lean on Me song was played. Silence equals betrayal. That's another issue we've talked about. Apparently, you can't even not comment on this. Like, you can't just go about your day and do something else. Like, everyone has to protest, comment, or support in some way. It's really, really creepy. It's like a cult-like behavior for these guys. And that's why I think a lot of this NPR stuff comes from, and this double standard. It's cult-like. I think it has to do with this radicalism. These people, they're not living in the real world, and they don't even realize how double standard this is. Like, these tweets together, you just look at this again, and it's just, okay, rallies are bad, but protests are okay. Trump people cannot gather. We have to stay home. They're just straight up telling you it's dangerous. They're scaring you. And then whenever it's these guys, it's, oh, it's heroic, it's unity, it's togetherness, the pureness of the people, love, all this hippy dippy dumb bull. And to me, it just goes to show that NPR is just as biased as the rest of them. And the worst part, like we said from the beginning, is they're getting paid by our tax dollars. NPR and PBS are getting paid to hate on the president. It's just really messed up. I would feel the same way if they were hating on Obama or another liberal president, Clinton. Like, I wouldn't feel the same way. I might not make this video. I might make a video about something else. But this biasness could go either way, and the way they're going, yeah, it disagrees with my beliefs, but everyone should disagree with this. Like, why is NPR so biased? Why is a public radio station and a public broadcasting service giving us propaganda, like pushing this fake narrative, tweeting things that are completely contradictory? Now, I know they might have multiple people running this Twitter account. You can make some excuses for that, but they should have known. They should get their narrative straight. They should be on the side of America. They should be supporting the president, and they should be treating us all fair and not giving us this biased BS. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts and everything below. Also hit that like button to help us get shared. And until next time, you guys have a great day.